It's that curse of comparison and just giving up if you can't look like J-Lo or Beyonce or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
And it's so heartbreaking because we lose our vitality when we do that. Welcome to Frontline Women, a show dedicated to women on the leading edge of change and culture renewal in America. I'm Dalisia Coppersmith, and I'll be your host and guide as we explore emerging issues and opportunities for women to lead side by side with men every day. So let's get off the sideline and onto the front line right now. Welcome back. We have another wonderful guest for you today. But first, I want to say, learning to see yourself as good enough right now as you are at any phase of your life is a game changer. Our guest today helps women achieve that and so much more. Wanda McDonald is with us, and she's the CEO of Resilience Health and Fitness. After 27 years in the Air Force, she retired as a lieutenant colonel. She raised a beautiful family, earned an MBA, just all kinds of incredible experience. But she also went into bodybuilding at the age of 41. So anybody out there that thinks I've poured it all out for my family, I've poured it all out for, my company, there's nothing left for me. And now I'm over 40, maybe perimenopause is hitting you, menopause, and you think it's too late for me. I can't get healthy and fit anymore. Not true. Visit Wanda's website. You'll see some pictures of her when she was competing. She's still absolutely vivacious and healthy and a vibrant woman who helps her clients get back to that or to find it sometimes for the first time in their lives. So she directed her wealth of experience and knowledge at helping women get back to whole health. She also provides executive coaching, speaking, and wellness programs for companies that are looking for help in that way. I want to say I have personally recommended some of my clients to work with you. If they said, you know what, my health, my vitality is a primary goal right now, I say I know exactly who you need to go to, and it's Wanda McDonald. So Wanda, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Dalisia. I love what you're doing. I love the women that you serve, and it's great to be here.
Thank you so much. I want to dive right into this topic today of how fitness can impact our confidence. And Wanda and I talked briefly about we can be confident overall. We can even be like bold and fearless people. But that doesn't mean that we have achieved the level or the depth of confidence that we could. And so that's our topic today. How does our health and fitness, and I'll say our whole health, as you say it, Wanda, how does that impact our confidence, even if we think we already are confident? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The women that you help, though, this new work that you're doing now relies so much on your feminine energy, your intuition, your ability to empathize. It comes naturally to you, but you've also simmered in male energy environments for decades in the Air Force, as well as I'm sure in gyms when you were doing your bodybuilding. So tell me what that shift has been like for you to just be drowning in the male energy environments and then to rely so much on feminine energy.
Yeah, that is such a good question. And I didn't really realize it until you asked that question, but I'd become so accustomed to being in this environment that was competitive in nature, where emotions and feelings were not necessarily promoted. Things were more black and white, not a whole lot of room for individuality. Everything was about being part of a team. And then transitioning out of that and retiring became this whole process of recognizing my own identity, getting attuned to what was natural, which was moving into that feminine energy, that part that felt natural. So when I serve women, just like you said, I'm coming from a place that is not a competitive place where I've got to fight to show up to be heard, but I am coming from a place that is a natural space where I can support another woman who is going through what I've been through, and I get to help champion her to a place of wholeness. Now, I'm not saying that she actually is missing anything, because she's not. she has a feeling that something is missing. She has an identity. I won't call it a crisis, but she has a little bit of a disconnect between who she knows she's supposed to be or wants to be and how she's showing up in the world. So I get to show up in this very natural, very supporting position, and I welcome that. I absolutely love working in this space.
I think you just have this naturally, this ability to connect in a very calm way. I imagine you had it, back then, even during your military career. But have you ever experienced women who didn't know how to receive that, like didn't know how to receive kindness and patience and reflection time from other people?
Yeah, hardened women. But I think there's survival mechanisms like to have this armor to succeed and to just to exist in that world of the military and even like you said in bodybuilding, that woman has to allow herself to take the guard down and become vulnerable. From my own personal experience, I saw myself going through that. One particular thing that comes to mind is in school, in Air Command and Staff College, is what it was called. I attended in residence. And there was the first time that I saw that I had what looked like was an inability to connect with people who could have helped take me to the next level, but I had this guard up that I wasn't permitted to be vulnerable. I wasn't allowed to show emotions or even show up as an individual because my job was to be part of the greater good. So there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen when a woman is transitioning from one environment that is strong with the male energy or a masculine energy, and then step into an arena where you are free to be that woman and that woman leader.
And sometimes I think the change isn't necessarily in the outward behavior, because I hear a lot of people say that women are like putting on a show or putting on a front. And it isn't always that. It's that focus on other people, focus on the mission, focus on the team. So it's an absence of focusing on yourself.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
isn't always like, oh, she's just showing a hard shell. She's not being vulnerable. You don't even know what you need sometimes. If it was even occurring to you what you need, you might be vulnerable and say it. Like, hey, I need some time. I need some time off. Or acknowledge that you're having difficulty with somebody and you need to go address that to bring your stress level down. We are so other focused sometimes that the hard shell comes from not being kind to ourselves.
Absolutely.
I've said before, I think, women are toughest on women sometimes, especially in male dominated environments, because I know that I don't know if you felt this way in the Air Force, but we worked so hard to gain credibility, to earn whatever promotions so that we could lead a broader group. So we worked very hard to get there. And if we encountered women who were going to harm that credibility, for all women, we could be very tough on women. And I would go back and do some things differently. I wouldn't be completely different, but I would at least internally not judge them so harshly. And I would come from a place of helping and not judging. So all of this, I think, tends to work against women, and we don't even realize it. It's not because we're doing it on purpose always. It's that we are other focused, we're mission focused, and it doesn't occur to us to be kind to ourselves. And we all know it's hard to be kind to others when we do that. So, relating this back to our health and our fitness, what types of women are you seeing make this a priority right now in their lives? Is there an age demographic, a career field?
What I'm seeing across the board is it's a vast mix of women, but the ones who are stepping up most right now are midlife women, somewhere between 40 and just over 60. They're perimenopausal, menopausal, or beyond, and they've experienced physical changes, but they've also had some type of lifestyle changes, whether that is some medical issue, the children leaving the house, they've got new grandchildren, but there's something significant that has shifted, and they finally realized that they need to make themselves a priority.
I so want to see you spending some time getting into companies and organizations. I know you work with women individually. If they're lucky enough to find you, or have somebody like me that refers them to you, but what about those women who are not seeking it? They are stressed out. They've just stepped up into another leadership role that's, making their life fairly miserable. And again, there they are with that other focus and that mission focus. I'm just challenging you, Wanda, because I want to see you go into companies and offer more wellness programs to those women who don't make themselves a priority and seek it out outside of work, because you have so much to offer in that area, and they certainly need it. A lot of the women that I've worked with, let's say inside of an organization, they know that they want to be healthier, and they know they are going to find that calm confidence at a deeper level, but they don't know who to go to. And this internet is full of people who act like they know what they're doing.
Mhm.
You actually do know what you're doing. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that because I really
That,
want to see you get
you
into
know,
some organizations. Ladies out there listening, or gentlemen out there listening, if your organization spends any part of a budget on wellness programs, please reach out to Wanda. You'll get a link to her website in the show notes.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I absolutely accept that challenge.
Yeah. So, what do you think as far as society these days? What in the West, and especially in the United States, is working against women's well being right now?
Mm. So you kind of touched on it for a second there. Social media, I think, is a huge issue where it can bring a lot of positivity, it can bring awareness, but a lot of that information is not accurate. And a lot of that information is causing women to adopt standards that are not realistic. It's causing them to judge themselves in harmful ways, unfair ways, to an unrealistic standard. Because you get to paint this pretty picture, this Pinterest perfect picture of life and what, a day in the life of this influencer looks like, or this celebrity who's lost 65 pounds and all you see is them working out in the gym. But the rest of the story is their weight loss was medically assisted, and that there were surgeons involved, and there are filters, and there's just so much going on there that at a glance, a woman will look and say, I don't feel that I'm being very successful. I don't look like that. That is what beauty is, and I am not that. So I think that a challenge that we have here in the West, a big one, is women and the way that they are comparing themselves to people on social media.
I definitely see women it's like if they can't spend the amount of time and money on their health and fitness, and I'll just say wellness overall, then they think, okay, if I can't do it all, then I'm out. I don't have time. I can't do this. As a matter of fact, there was a woman in my community who, not in the online community, I mean in our town, who bought a new home, and the sliding doors, to the closet were supposed to be mirrored doors. And she told the owner and the real estate agent not to replace them because they had intended to replace them. And she said, I don't have mirrors in my house. I don't like to look at myself below the neck. I mean, that broke my heart. I just thought, okay, I understand if you don't want, big full length mirrors in your closet, but it was the rest of it. She didn't have mirrors in her house, nothing below the neck. And it's just what you're talking about. It's that curse of comparison and just giving up if you can't look like J-Lo or Beyonce.
Hmm? Yeah,
And it's so heartbreaking because we lose our vitality when we do that. And we
absolutely.
might not be thinking about it all the time. We might say, I don't want mirrors in my house. Um, just because I don't care to look at myself. I don't want to focus on that. But really, I mean, it's a deep, deep self-criticism. You're hiding from yourself, and I think that impacts the way we show up with everybody else. What do
Yeah.
you think?
I think you're absolutely right. I say let's talk about stretch marks. Let's talk about wrinkles. Let's talk about all those things that are natural and beautiful. And they're a part of a celebration of life. It's not something to be frowned upon. We don't all need to look like we're 30 until we're 80. Like that's not beauty. Um, I I would love to be part of the empowerment of women to deconstruct what beauty is and allow each woman to define beauty in her own terms and tear it down. Start with a blank slate and design it in a way that works for you in real life. And my husband and I we were talking about this recently. I was actually surprised that he brought up the conversation. I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. Pamela Anderson has been in the news recently, and he remembers her from back in the day from Baywatch, and she was, all the rave and all that in her youth and all that. Just a different standard of beauty. And now she's decided to just go all natural. And he says, well, she looks really good still. He's like, she looks really good. She's beautiful. And I was like, you know what? First of all, I married a great man
He
for
is.
that started that conversation, and brought to my attention something that stood out as different. And the fact that it was about two different types of beauty. We all could stand to challenge what's being fed to us and recognize all the different kinds of beauty.
Mhm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I haven't thought about it as, like, 2 different kinds of beauty because we just think beauty because we're comparing ourselves to some standard, and it's like we wanna lower that standard. But you're talking about something else. You're saying that you can have your glammed up beauty, date night, some work meeting or whatever. I mean, have your makeup, have your hair, that's all great. But that is not the only version of beauty that we should be comfortable displaying. Our natural
Absolutely.
beauty is another kind of beauty. And I want to say, too, on your website, please go to her website because everything that she's saying right here, it comes across in her website. This is what she is talking about, is learning to love ourselves exactly the way we are today. Sure, we want to set goals to be healthier. Fitness is great. Weight loss is great if you feel like that's a goal that you want to pursue for health reasons or for appearance, whatever it is. But you're good enough today. And I love that you express that on your website. So as soon as somebody visits, they know what you're about and what you can help them achieve in that way.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful stuff. All right, let's talk about false confidence because, I help women leaders and we have every brand of confidence that you can imagine. We have people that are just bold for the sake of being bold. They were loud in school and maybe as some sort of rebellion to authority, they decided, I'm going to keep on being bold. As a matter of fact, I'll be bolder. And I don't think that's confidence. I think
It's a
sometimes
cover up.
it's a cover up. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
loud insecurity. So we are defining confidence here. I don't mean just boldness. I don't even mean just fearlessness. So I'm going to ask you on the spot, how do you define calm confidence for women?
That's a great question. The first thing that comes up for me is it's an inner strength that shows up. And it's always available for you to tap into. And I believe that's where our confidence comes from. When we allow weaknesses to take the forefront, it diminishes our confidence. So there's this correlation between actual or perceived weakness and our level of confidence. But when we pull from our strengths, we're allowed to show up as confident. We can see ourselves as confident. But when you're pulling from some place that has no depth, that's when you've got to fake it until you make it, which I don't believe in. And though you may be able to fool some for a while, it's a front that you can't keep up.
And the fake it till you make it thing, I think whenever we have a goal of thinking or behaving differently, there is some aspect of that. Let's put the cloak on for a little while. But if you don't have a plan for how you're going to cross that bridge from where you're sort of doing it mechanically at first, but then it becomes genuine for you, then really you're just going to keep on burning that false confidence.
Mhm.
And that's when, and I'm going to say a woman because we're primarily talking to women here. When a woman is in a male dominated environment or when they're somewhere where they feel like, okay, they're not going to like me or they're not going to listen to me or they're not going to respect me, Sometimes it is that defiant boldness that comes out, and they act like they don't care what people think, but they do, because they wouldn't be doing that if they didn't care. It's a reaction to, they won't like me. Okay, well, I'll come over the top here and I'll be bold anyway. So it's a defiance against what they're afraid of, which is rejection. What do you think the long-term effects are when someone is operating from false confidence? For
That person is building armor. They're building walls and pushing people away and creating isolation in a place, in a world where isolation is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you the allies you need. It's not going to get you the support, the connections that you need. It's not going to help you to be the one who can reach down even and to help the next person up. You just create a shell around yourself.
if people believe that we are all vibrating constantly at high frequency emotions and low frequency emotions, certainly that would be low vibe. That would be low vibe,
Absolutely.
and you're never going to connect with people doing that, false confidence, that defiant boldness thing. It just doesn't work. It
No,
doesn't work.
it's not
People
work.
don't want to connect when we do that. So we have to find another way for sure. That long term effect, I do think it erodes our health and fitness.
Oh, absolutely. Because you've kept people at a distance as a coping mechanism, and we're just not designed for that.
We are not. That is for sure. So we've hit a couple of things. We've hit simmering in male energy for many, many years, or any sort of environment where it isn't very welcoming to feminine energy. And so we get used to operating in that environment. Things that are working against us, in our society and in organizations, and looking at this whole false confidence thing, which is not what we're after. So I want to hear from you. If you have a story of a woman, of course, it'll be anonymous if you can give us a story, but a woman that you saw really go through a transformation in this way, in that she decided to give herself the time, the space, the self focus to work on whole health, to work on fitness, maybe. And then that provided a different type or a different level of confidence. Do you have a
Yeah,
client
I
or someone
do.
that you know that you could share with us?
Absolutely. There's a few clients that come to mind, but there's one in particular, very visible position, on stages representing her organization in all ways, a published author, all the things. And what she realized is that she was covering up. So getting in front of people was a huge mental challenge for her because she didn't feel good about the way that she looked. She felt that she was overweight and didn't show up in a way that represented her organization. And she also knew that it was impacting her ability to be as social as she wanted to be. And she was single and didn't want to be single forever. So she reached out to me, really wanting to focus on the social part of things.
Really?
And yes, absolutely. That was what stood out to her the most, was that her body confidence was keeping her isolated. And even though she could pull all the, she had the degrees, the education to stand up on stage and be the professional and expert she needed to be, when she wasn't in that arena, she felt isolated and didn't want that to hamper her life. So we worked together for about a year total. And during that time, she realized it wasn't only impacting her socially, but she had some habits of self sabotage professionally because of the fear that she was going to put herself in social environments or situations where she would have to be around people and be more insecure about how she looked. We worked together for about a year. She lost some weight, but that was not the big thing for her. The thing for her is how she started to look at herself after finding her strengths, really identifying those things about her that made her who she is. And she began to tap into those things. I remember distinctly doing an exercise with her where she identified her values and her qualities. And some of the things she picked out was, I'm really funny. Like I'm like I'm able to connect with people because I'm really funny and I am compassionate and caring and I'm super
And
smart.
that's what's
Yeah.
attractive.
Yeah. And
Regardless
then
of where the number is on the scale, who cares? That's what's attractive.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And she got out there, started to use some of the dating sites, and she was able to describe herself and show up as this realized version of herself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Instead of hanging out in a place of here's what's wrong with me. Here are all the things that I don't accept about myself, and so I wouldn't expect anyone else to. She
And
began
so
to
you
show
don't
up.
give anybody a chance to.
Yeah. Yeah. She
Yeah.
began to lead with those things that were great about herself. She
Yeah,
had
that old preemptive strike. You
Mhm.
feel like you're gonna be rejected, so you
Yeah,
reject the whole situation first.
absolutely. It's a self-sabotage, and it just shows up in so many different ways. So she has since, gotten into a long-term relationship with a wonderful
Oh,
man.
well, whoever you
Uh,
are out there, congratulations.
yes. And so she is she is a success story, and there's so many like that. The health journey is so very personal. The beauty of it is it's client led, and I just get to champion them through what they feel they need to work on while they are becoming aware and discovering those strengths about themselves.
Do their goals tend to change like that? They come
Absolutely.
in saying, "I want this," and then they realize, "Wait a second, what I really want is something."
Yes. Generally that what that looks like is they come in with a very superficial goal and then it it evolves into a deeper, more meaningful goal that covers everything. It covers all the aspects of their life. Everything from social and community to spiritual to fitness to home cooking and all the things.
I can recall when I was at my lowest weight as an adult. I was thin, I guess, but not totally fit. I wasn't strong. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was running a lot, but I wasn't very strong. And I know for sure the scale does not at all, tell you where your confidence is going to be. If I got back down to that number where I was, I would feel a little bit, probably be hungry.
A little angry.
Yeah, and not as strong, and so for me personally, I know it's not about the number on the scale, it is about how I feel, like, inside. Do I feel strong and energetic? And then the rest is whatever, like, it doesn't matter. So, when we think about fitness, if we think it's the number on the scale, that is not it. It'll land where it lands, but that whole fitness that you help people with, that is not just about the physical fitness either. Like you help with emotional fitness, spiritual fitness, the whole thing. I think those stories are so inspiring when someone has such a radical change where they're hiding, 1 year, and a year later they're connecting and they have that deeper level of confidence or a newfound confidence because they invested in themselves, because they feel like they matter. That's the real thing. Do we realize how much we matter? I wish everybody did. Well, okay. So speaking of not focusing on ourselves, a lot of my clients and listeners that I'm connecting with now, I think they go through a cycle of overwork, maybe crash and burn. That's happened to a lot of us, and that can lead to fear and paranoia. And what I mean by that is we overwork, and then because of our stress, we might not be connecting with other people. We might display some of our negative traits, or characteristics, like being impatient with people or avoiding people, because we can't handle the stress of it. And so some of our negative aspects of our personality might come out, and then people don't respond to us. And then we're like, whoa, what's going on? And that leads to fear of rejection or paranoia. Are people moving against me? So I see this over and over with women that I work with. And they're trying so hard to do the right things and to build their careers, but more to build their organizations. They're really pouring it all out. And then they start to get tired and they make social mistakes. And then they realize people are disconnecting from them. So fear and paranoia set in and they have to remedy that. So that whole cycle, that whole exhausting, awful cycle, it does lead to recovery, eventually, and re engagement with people because you have to. You realize, like, I have to fix this. Sometimes women go to different jobs. They like leave the mess, the dumpster fire, and they just find a new job. I recommend people stay where they are, turn it around. If they still want to leave later, that's fine. But that's why I was saying earlier, like, I really hope that you do a lot of work with organizations, because I think that's how you find the women that need you the most. They're in that cycle of exhaustion and overwhelm and stress, which leads to disconnection and fear and paranoia. And then they have to stop. They have to take a couple of months off, or, invest in their health and their fitness and their wellness, but they're doing it so reactively that it is really a dumpster fire by the time they start working on it. So how do you help women like that? How do you help them see what's happening and stop that cycle?
Yeah. So, yeah, we don't want them reactively stopping
Yeah.
because of the dumpster fire. But you walk that dog perfectly. That is the experience of the lady. Generally, I generally don't even get to interact with her until she's at a serious pain point. What I do now is to try to provide assistance in the form of my social media engagement to just provide guidance. And by talking on stages where I find that opportunity to catch women before they get to those points, that is a way that I've engaged myself to try to make a difference. But unfortunately, the woman that I generally get to work with doesn't even hear me until she's in the dumpster fire. So that is a challenge that I have as well, is getting to her earlier so that she can pause, not be forced to stop, but to be able to be intentional about the decisions that she's making, and become more aware of how she's showing up for herself as a priority, and then others in the service that she wants to give. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you ever get people asking for like a gift certificate so they could give it to their spouse, their sister, their friend, their colleague?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm in a lot of business networking groups, and generally it is the husband who is looking for something for his wife. Yeah.
That is a sweet gift.
And
But
I
there's
love
no
it.
reason we can't gift ourselves that.
Absolutely.
We don't have to wait for it to be somebody else's
Yes. We don't
idea.
have to wait to be invited for anything, and we don't have to wait for
So,
that as a gift.
well, thank you so much for that, because I think realizing that it's a worthy investment in our time. We don't need to do more things and achieve more things. Sometimes we need to stop and go inside and give ourselves the gift of health, whole health, of fitness, of calm confidence, returning to that or finding it if it's the first time you've ever had it. For anyone out there listening, Wanda can definitely help you get there. Are there themes these days with the ladies that you're working with?
They're just not recognizing the woman that's in the mirror. She feels like a stranger, and they don't even know how to put words to it sometimes. Sometimes it just takes me as a coach sitting and listening to them to help them to figure out what's going on with them, to help them to express how they really feel and give them that space. And sometimes it's hard to do that just in our own minds. We've got to get the words out of our mouth and have them reflected back to us in order to actually hear them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's and to think that, oh, I don't feel like myself because I don't look like I did at 25. Well, that's ridiculous, because you probably wouldn't want to be the woman you were at 25. I mean, I don't want to be.
No, I don't.
So it's a false story that we're telling ourselves, that like, oh, I don't feel like myself. Well, you can only feel like yourself is in there, right? The version of yourself that was 25 years old and maybe weighed less, she's a past person, a past version, so discovering who you really are is such a beautiful thing if you take the time to do it, for
It's
sure.
an evolution. Like, it's not a crisis.
It's not, no, it's not a crisis.
It's
Yeah.
not a crisis.
And having the decades show up on us, whether it's gray hair, wrinkles, a little bit of extra weight, when a woman is comfortable with that, it's so beautiful, I think.
It
It's so,
is.
some of my favorite actresses are like 70 or 80 years old, because they know themselves, because they have that confidence that comes from self appreciation and self-kindness. And yes, they do take care of themselves. They see themselves as important enough to take care of themselves, but it's not about their weight, or a smooth face or the perfect color of hair or anything. So finding that in ourselves and bringing out that type of confidence, that level of confidence. Sometimes we do need somebody to nudge us, a good coach like Wanda, that shows us there is a beauty that we're not even paying attention to, that should be the pillar for our self-esteem. It really should be.
Yeah.
So, of course, there are going to be some links in the show notes to some things that Wanda has for us. Please do reach out to her if this is something that is important in your life right now. If through our conversation you've realized that you're the woman that I want her to chase down in companies because you're a leader who deserves to feel better and to have that true, calm confidence. If you feel like I was talking about you, I probably was. So reach out to Wanda and book a call to just explore, what she offers and what she can do for you. But if you follow her on social media, you're going to get so much there. Even if you're not looking for a whole health and fitness coach, she also offers executive coaching. So if you love her as much as I do, don't be afraid to reach out to her. Do you have any parting tips, advice, or wishes for the ladies out there who are listening, Wanda?
I do, Delisha. What's on my heart right now is that if there's any woman who's listening right now and your perceived weakness is what's got you stuck, I want to tell you that you're absolutely wrong. Your weakness is not going to hold you back. Your strengths that you might not be realizing is all that you need to build that confidence in those areas. No need to focus on those weaknesses. Those were not your God given gifts, but the gifts that you were given, they're all that you need.
All right. Well, thank you, Wanda. Again, I really appreciate you being here with us to have this conversation about how our health and our fitness can impact real, genuine, calm confidence. And I wish that for everyone out there.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon, ladies. Again, hit the show notes for links and reach out to Wanda if you'd like to. Bye bye.